my lip. Like, I don't know what the fuck. Do you see this? Do you see this? No?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, whatever. We're live. We're ready to rock. Happy Monday, everybody. What is up? I wrote down we're doing 12 Days of Bizmas Day 8, but honestly, I really fucking forget. Like, how many days has this been? And for everybody who's listening, congratulations on making it this far along into the training. We have Jen Casey here today to fucking crush it and talk about sales. Jen, how you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to hang out with everybody. This is awesome.
I'm really fucking excited. I'm going to pull this up on my phone because I always love to keep track of the comments and just see all of you guys engaged. Guys, if you, going twice. If you guys don't know who Jen Casey is, could we just take a minute to honor you and say, hi, this is my biz bestie BFF. We started in the trenches together when we were little business babies, and now we're all grown up. So give me a moment. Let me just introduce Jen to all of you. She is a master at strategy and NLP for business coaches and for anybody in the online space who's looking to make money and grow their empire online. She has been doing this for quite a while, kicking ass, taking names. She runs a beautiful podcast called Inner Boss, and she teaches online coaches, network marketers, spiritual boss babes, anybody under the sun on how to shift into taking that business to a business level, right? So Jen, I'm so fucking excited to have you here to talk to our girls today.
So
what are we talking about today?
So today we are talking about sales and the unconscious mind. So I hope that you guys are ready and excited. I was way too excited. Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. So I'm going to shut my video down. I'm going to let you hold the floor. And when you're done, you just let me know. And then we can jump into a Q&A session.
Amazing. 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 Love you. Hi, guys. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So what's going on? Like I said, today we are talking about sales and the unconscious mind. So a little bit different, maybe from some of the other business topics that you've seen. We're getting a little bit more into some strategy today, but I'm bringing it hard with all of the mindset so that you guys have all of the things that you need to absolutely crush it in the new year. So if you guys don't know me, like Lauren said, I'm a business strategy coach, master NLP coach, and I work with online coaches primarily in health and wellness who want to go from social media to sales and think like a top earner. And today we are going to be diving into a little bit of that. So sales and the unconscious mind. So I'm just curious, which sounds the most like you? So right now, you're maybe feeling like you're showing up, but you still kind of feel icky about sales and you hate getting money objections. Maybe you see other people celebrating big income months, but you can't seem to break into the next income level. Maybe you've made some sales, but you want a bigger impact and bigger income. So let me know right now in the comments. I'm actually going to pull up the Facebook group on my phone just so that I can chat with you guys and interact with you guys. But I'm curious, which one right now sounds the most like you? So tell me a 1, 2, or 3 below, just so that I get a pulse on like where you guys are at. So as we're going, just feel free to drop that in. And I'm just curious for all of you guys, on a scale from 1 to 10, going even a little bit deeper, how do you feel right now about sales? How do you feel right now about sales? Are you kind of like a 1 where you're like, I'm bad at sales and, feel like sales and making money make me stress sweat and I need to like shove 2 paper towels under my pits every time I get on a sales call or think about sales? Or maybe you're like, I love sales. I'm a 10 out of 10 and the right people sign up with me and enroll effortlessly. Right? So I want you to pick a number. You can put it in the comments or not, but pick a number because by the end, we're going to see how much your number has moved up the scale. Cool. So Adam said I'm a 7, 8. April says 8. We got a 4. Cool. So hold on to that number because the goal of this and my intention for this is to help you guys improve your number. So what you're going to learn today is the importance of mastering sales, the 3 biggest sales mistakes that coaches are making that are preventing them from making bank. And I'm going to be teaching you my CAB method for reframing rejection and reclaiming your power. So that's where we're really going to get into some of the mindset stuff. Okay, cool. So we got some more numbers. Sonia says 4, Amy says 7, Andrea says 5. Awesome. So hold on to those numbers. So why do we need to be good at sales? Why are sales such an important piece of growing an online business? Well, there's 2 things that you need to be good at to make consistent money online. 1, whatever your area of expertise is, and 2, sales and marketing. You guys agree with that, right? You've got to be good at both of those, because we see so many coaches who are so brilliant and they're so good at what they do, but they are like this diamond in the rough. Nobody knows who they are, even though they're so talented and they're so masterful, because they haven't figured out how to put themselves out there online in a powerful way. Or maybe they just aren't charging their worth. And so people, the perceived value is that they're not as good, but really they're like the best coach ever. So you may be that person right now. So we're going to make sure that you up your score a little bit here. And the truth is, the best marketers, they don't sell, right? You invest excitedly knowing that you finally have a solution. If you think about the last enrollment or last course that you purchased, you probably were like, oh, yes, I need this. This is going to solve my problem. This is exactly what I need. And that's what sales really should feel like. It should feel like this beautiful, energetic exchange of value for money. So let's dive into, oh, hey, Shannon, hey, Diana, says I've been waiting for this. I love it. So let's talk about the 3 big sales mistakes. And this is just 3 of the ones that I pulled, but I'm sure there's plenty, right? We all have things that we need to improve on. So number 1, biggest mistake is not asking for the sale or assuming that sales will just come. How many of you guys have ever experienced this? Where you're like, damn, I only posted like once or twice. I really could have put things out there, but maybe you got scared and you kind of played a little bit small. So number 1 mistake is not asking for the sale or assuming they'll just come. And this is a pretty regular conversation that I've had with potential clients where, or followers or my audience, where they're like, well, I didn't make any sales in my recent course launch. It's the first time I launched it, so I failed, right? They just put a blanket, I failed. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, I thought 5 people enrolled. Them. Well, 7 people enrolled, but I wanted more. Me. Okay, so it's a new course, it's a new launch. Walk me through whatever your strategy was. Them. I posted on Instagram twice a day and mentioned it, or 2 times and mentioned it on my live video once. Me. How many times do you need to hear an offer or see a coach consistently before you decide to invest with them? Them. Touche. Right? Because that's what it is. We sometimes, and there are definitely times where we see somebody, we're like, oh my God, she gets me, she's speaking to me. But a lot of times we don't even realize that we've seen that person's face more than once. And that's really where the unconscious mind comes into play. And it has to do with something called the mere exposure effect, which is a psychology study or term where they found that people who we see more frequently, we tend to like them more. The more you see someone, the more you like them, because the more you feel like they are part of your inner circle, right? And 16 years ago, consumers needed 4 interactions with a brand before they made a purchase. Today, most consumers need 16. Let that sink in for a second, right? But here's what I have to say about that. With the right energetic intention and a clear message, and with live video and the way that you guys are showing up, you can get a yes in way less time. If you are clearly solving someone's problem, they're going to do research on you and probably enroll with you that night, if you're the right fit. And if they're like, this girl gets me, this guy is speaking my language, right? Rosie says, I share all day long, but it feels salesy to ask for the sale. Okay, we're going to be talking a little bit about that too. And Lauren and I will be doing some Q&A at the end, so we can even dive deeper into some of the specifics that you guys are working through right now. So what I want to say to this is, don't be so quick to declare things a failure. Don't be so quick to declare things a failure, because the truth is, all of the things that are happening for us in our businesses, they are neutral. And it really comes down to the stories that we build around what's happening. So we have a launch, 5 people enroll. You could either say, oh my God, I'm so excited, I get to change 5 lives. Or you can say, this was the biggest failure. And it all becomes the story and the meaning that you apply to whatever happened. So you as a human being get to decide what you want to make things mean. And however you decide to make, whatever like story you build is going to determine how you show up. It's going to ultimately determine your success, right? And remember that every single sale is a human being that has chosen you to lead them. So when people say to me, well, I just got one person, or I don't know if I should even bother sending an email to my list today, I only have 300 people. What is this only nonsense? Like, I'm getting a little preachy for a second, but I'm like, what is this only nonsense? That is a human being that has chosen you to lead them. And if you cannot step into leading one person, how are you going to lead 100, 10,000, a million? Because it all comes down to speaking and creating that intimacy for that ideal client, for that one person. So you've got to learn how to lead one before you can lead a million. And it starts with really taking care of people. And when you really pull back and look at all of the stories that we build, the bird's eye view is that you're in your own bubble of creation. So when people say, oh, this is a failure, or I've been rejected because this person doesn't want to work with me, you're in your own bubble of creation. You're seeing only other people in your industry on your timeline. And so you're comparing yourself to the like 0.01% of people who are doing online business. Every single life that you get to help is a win, whether or not they invest with you financially. You're making a difference. Why are you discounting that? Why are you making that less than? And you're going to experiment and learn every single time you relaunch. And this is kind of another little thing that people do is they launch a program. Tell me if you guys have ever done this, or they put an offer out. And then they go, oh, well, I only got 5 people, so that didn't work. Or I only got 20 people, so that didn't work. I'm going to create a new program. I'm going to create a new offer. Whoa, before you go run back into creation mode, because when we're creating new programs and offers, that takes up time and energy. We've got to integrate everything. We've got to set up the tag rate. There's a lot of moving pieces. We've got to test it. We've got to get testimonials. So before you go and run and decide that what you're putting out there didn't work, test it. Change one little thing, launch it again. Change one little thing, launch it again. If you look at the top people in the industry for online course creation and in the expert world, the people who are really crushing it, they're not launching something new every month. They are sticking with one program and making it their signature program and building off of that and relaunching and refining their launch process every single time they do it, right? And you're seeing this. Yes, I love reading these comments. So good. So good. So how many sales have you missed from not asking more frequently and more strategically? I want you guys to give yourself an actual number. Let's even say in the last 30 days, if you were to approximate, comment below, how many sales do you think you've maybe missed out on from not getting on Facebook, getting on Instagram, and saying, I've got this opportunity in an MLM. I've got this new course that I'm launching. I want to help you and nurture you and show you how this is the perfect program for you. How many do you think that you maybe have missed out on? And this is not to be all Debbie Downer and whatever. This is just to give yourself an honest audit, because we cannot move forward if we don't know where we're starting from. So I really want you to give yourself that little gut check right now. Adam, I don't even know what that number is, but there's a whole lot of zeros. So, right, there's so many people online who are like, oh my God, why is so-and-so making she's making 40K months or 10K months or, oh my God, 100K months. Why am I not making that money? Why am I not making that much? Well, it's not that so-and-so is better than you. It's not that she's prettier than you or he's smarter than you or more talented. That person might just be asking more consistently and showing up more consistently. And people are like, oh, I've seen them more, so I'm going to buy from them. Yeah, Claudia says too much. Sonia says too many. I would challenge you to give yourself a specific number, because that's a lot scarier when you're like, damn, shit, I missed out on at least 10 sales this month. And that could have been a $10,000 additional add-on to my 2018, right? So start considering that. So we're going to do some awesome questions at the end. So you can post them here, but definitely copy them so that we can answer them at the end, because I want to make sure we get through all the content, because I've got a lot of juicy stuff for you. So the second mistake is discounting your offers or never raising your prices. Now, I realize some of you guys in network marketing, obviously you are kind of confined to what the company decides the prices are. However, this idea of discounting is not just like what you are charging. It's about how you're showing up. So if you are in network marketing, you would be discounting yourself by giving away all of your time for free and not requiring that people show up at a certain level to get your time. Okay, so this works no matter what market or whatever niche you're in. So mistake number 2, discounting your offers, or never raising your prices. And why does this happen? Why do people do this? Well, the what if fear gremlin is talking loud and clear. And we're like, well, what if people can't afford it? What if I can't deliver? What if I'm not expert enough? And that imposter syndrome comes in. What if people think I'm greedy for upping my prices? I mean, I'm already charging a premium. What if people think I'm greedy? How many of you guys have had one of these thoughts or a version of these thoughts come in when it comes to figuring out your pricing? I would say the number one question that I get from my clients when working on course creation, they're like, well, Jen, what should I charge? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's in your brain. I don't know what you created. What do you want to charge, right? And what it really comes down to when we're thinking about, should we up our prices? Should we not? Are you growing daily? Are you pouring into yourself energetically? Are you pouring into yourself in your area of expertise? Right? If you are, then your value is growing as well, right? If you're growing daily, then so is your value. So you need to make sure that you raise your prices based on what feels aligned to you, not what Joe Schmo or Susie Smith made their prices, what feels aligned to you. And there should be no shame around you having a lower price than someone or a higher price. Like none of that nonsense. If it feels good to you, go with it, right? And for those of you guys who are doing like high ticket offers or doing group coaching, you may be on discovery calls, sales calls with people, and they may try to negotiate prices with you, right? I remember really early on when I transitioned out of network marketing and health coaching and into business coaching, I had a call with a potential new client. And she was somebody that was not super familiar with the online space. So she didn't really know how much she didn't know. And I told her the price, I told her the payment plan. And then she's like, well, you've got some interest on your payment plan. So like, what if we just take off that interest and we'll just break down your main offer, your main price into those payment plans? And I was like, hold on, what? I was like, no. And she's like, don't worry, take your time, think about it. I was like, I don't have to think about it. The answer is no, and here's why. And I had total certainty and total clarity around making this decision. And I know for a lot of you guys, there's like a little bit of a guilt, like, oh, maybe it is too much. I really want to work with this person. Maybe I should lower my prices. Maybe I should work with them. Here's why I didn't. I said, if I gave you a discount, here's what I would be communicating, whether verbally or non-verbally. One, I don't believe I can deliver. I would be telling you, I don't believe you will get results. I don't powerfully hold space to help you stretch and grow. I let you take the easy way out. Like that's our first interaction. I'm already letting you take the easy way out. I don't practice what I preach. I'm going to sit here and tell you as a coach to show up, own your prices, don't give away discounts, and then I'm going to sit here and do this? I would be totally out of integrity. And we'd be energetically lowering the bar for both of us, and we would show up smaller. And you would have less skin in the game. So I said, on literally every single level, it makes zero sense for me to say yes to that, right? Because here's the reality. And what she said was, she was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I was like, I know. Because here's the thing, when people invest, they are betting on their own success, right? And you guys know, because you've invested in yourself before, and I bet you felt so good. You felt so good. You're like, yes, I just put $2,000 on a course that I'm going to finish because I am betting on the fact that I am going to get my ROI. Why would you take that away from someone? You're literally taking away their power and robbing them of a breakthrough, of robbing them of making that energetic commitment to themselves. And when people pay, they pay attention. When people pay, they pay attention. I could give two people the same content course coaching, and if one person, if I charge them $100 and the other person $10,000, who is showing up more? Who's getting better results? The person who paid more, because the transformation is in the transaction. It's energy, right? And you guys have seen this, and I see lots of hearts and things going, yeah, right? So what would your clients' results look like if they were more invested? And I don't just mean financially invested. I mean invested by having some kind of clear expectation from you and standard for how they needed to show up. How are you creating that space and holding that space for them to be the highest level version of themselves? And it really starts with you as a leader being your highest self. So what would your clients' results look like if they were more invested? That's something you can just quietly consider, or feel free to share in the comments below. So moving right along, because we got a lot to cover today. So number 3 mistake is not listening to your potential client. Not listening. And it really has to do with being pushy versus being passive. And when I started selling, guys, just so you know, when I first started my first online business in network marketing in 2011, for the first 4 months, I made 0 sales. 0. I was following the scripts and the steps that other people were telling me that I should be using. And it felt completely out of integrity to me to show up in that way and to share what I'd already been sharing what I loved. And then all of a sudden I had this script and now it was like clunky and weird and it just felt wrong. It felt heavy to me. It didn't align with my voice, didn't sound like me. People knew it wasn't really coming from me. And so that's something you always want to be thinking about and be aware of as you are showing up and selling, right? So are you being too pushy or too passive? And when somebody says to you on a call, I'm not sure I'm ready to invest, because when I talk to a lot of you guys, it really comes down to, I'm getting money objections, I don't know why. Remember, money is energy. So if you are attracting objections, it is simply a reflection of an old energetic vibration that you held. And I say old because from this moment forward, you can decide to change it. But you've built up old momentum from old thoughts. Those thoughts create energy in your body. They affect your physiology, they affect your behavior and your results. So money is just energy. Miranda said, oh my God, so my story, right? Totally. So when someone says, I'm not sure I'm ready to invest, a lot of new coaches, they go on one end of the spectrum or the other. They sometimes go into the pushy thing of like, well, you have to do it or you have to enroll, blah, 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 blah. And I'm even seeing a little bit of this on social media where there's almost become this thing where people are like, well, if you don't invest in yourself, then you need to work on your money mindset. You need to up-level your money mindset if you're not willing to give me $20,000. And I think that's just a big, it's not the language, it's the energy of pushiness behind that, right? So I'm fine with in holding space for people to up-level their money mindset and make an investment in themselves that's scary. But I specifically put this here because I really want to talk about that it's not the language, it's the pushy energy behind it. Because this idea of up-leveling your money mindset, it came from a really good intention and probably came from a coach that was powerfully holding space for somebody on a sales call. But then it got trickled down in the industry. And now that's like a thing that people use. But when it comes from pushy energy, it's almost manipulative. So you have to be really conscious about how you're feeling and asking yourself, are you in integrity with what you're saying to people? Do you actually believe that, right? And then the other side of it, so we don't want to be pushy because that never works. Those people, they don't show up in your courses, they don't show up in your programs, and then they end up with buyer's remorse because they weren't in alignment with saying yes. For a number of reasons. Maybe it's because of the energy you held and you attracted that person. Maybe it was the conversation and things that you brought into the conversation, right? We always want to be at cause, taking responsibility for how we're showing up and knowing that we're a reflection. Anything that we're experiencing is a reflection of our own thoughts. And then on the other side of the spectrum is being too passive. So when people are like, well, I'm not sure I'm ready to invest. You're on the other side as the coach and you're like, okay, no worries. Just let me know. Let me know. How many of you guys have said that? Let me know is the kiss of death. Okay, that's a little dramatic, but let me know is they're not going to let you know. Not necessarily because they don't want to let you know, but because you've now given away the power. You've now handed it off to them and said, the ball's completely in your court. And you've now created a situation where you can follow up with them, but the energy's off. So you don't want to be too passive. You want to make sure that you're holding space for that person and asking questions and following up with them and creating a situation where you can follow up with them. And there's different questions that you can use and frameworks that you can use. We don't have time to get into that right now, but just know You don't want to be too pushy or too passive. The goal here is to be powerful, to be the coach, to give pause and hold space and ask questions to find out what's really going on with that person, because this is your first opportunity to be their coach right now, in this moment, on the phone, when they're like, I don't know if I'm ready. So how many sales could you close if you stepped even more into your power? How many sales could you close if you stepped even more into your power? And Andrea just commented, she said, just old stories, not present. Well, Andrea, I like to take back ownership of my power when I said in a previous slide that if you're attracting your objections, it's a reflection of an old energetic vibration, because right now you can change your energy, and right now you can change your energy, and right now you can change your energy, and right now, in any moment, you can decide to change. Our state, our energetic state, is not something that requires time. You can get into a state in an instant. If you jump around and celebrate, go, woohoo, all of a sudden you're in a different state. All of the cells of your body are now vibrating at a different frequency. So I specifically and strategically put old energetic state as a presupposition for you that you're not going to stay in that state anymore. And even when you're on a sales call, if it's going south, it's tanking, you're like, oh God, this person, I don't know, blah, 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 I'm being weird. Great, change it in that one moment. Because you can change, you can pivot. Does that make sense, you guys? Give me a yes below if you're like, okay, I'm on board with that. Cool. So how many more sales could you close if you stepped even more into your power? And let me ask you, have you seen people offering the same or similar products and maybe using the same strategies and getting bigger results than you? Sonia said 100%. Okay, lots of hearts coming in. April says yes. Yeah, you've seen people, right? And what's the difference, right? What's the missing link? You're over here like, does anyone want to join the program? Hello, is anybody there? And the other person's like, I got this. So what is the missing link? People are like, yep, hell yeah, yes, yes, yes. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about part mindset and part, which is the energy, and then part strategy. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the strategy first, and then we're going to talk about the mindset, because that really is the glue that holds it all together. So this is my magnetic marketing framework. So I'll just explain this really quick. So on the bottom, we have sales. We've got low sales all the way up to high sales. And then vertically, we have your messaging, which is who you're serving, and your marketing, the problem that you're solving, and how clearly you're communicating all of that. And at the bottom, you have push marketing. So you're being pushy and aggressive. And on top, we've got pull, where people are just pulled towards you. People just want to be around you. You are drawing people in, right? That makes sense, right? So if we were to look at the top left box, what do you think that would be if you have a lot of pull, but low sales? Like you're not really closing sales, you're not really making money, but you have a lot of followers. Well, that's somebody who's popular, right? Somebody is popular if they've got low sales, but a lot of followers. Well, what would it look like if somebody didn't have a lot of followers, people were pushed and repelled away from them, but they had really, they were getting a lot of sales? What would that look like? That would be pushy, right? Where people are not necessarily seeing them as a leader, but they're making some money online. And then here, what if somebody has no influence and pull on social media and in business, and they have low sales? That's repel marketing, right? So right now, where do you guys think you are? 1, 2, or 3? And Sonia said, yes, I have, but also not sales in the healer energy world. Yes, that whole energy healing world really, really undercharges because they just love what they do. They don't want to have to charge for it. But like I said before, transformations in the transaction. So you're doing someone a disservice if you are just slashing prices because you love it. Of course you love it. You deserve to get paid for it. Okay, Tracy says 3. April says 1. Rosie says 1. Diana says 3. 1. Okay, so what would it look like? What would it look like if you had a lot of pull and also high sales, what would that look like? You guys are awesome. I like that no one is a 2. That's really, really good. I'm glad. You would be magnetic. If you had big influence and a big following of specifically the people that loved and adored you, they were your ideal client, your messaging was on point, you were clearly communicating the problem you solve, and you were really authentically selling, because if all of those things are in alignment, then sales happen way more naturally if you're making a consistent ask. Right? You guys are saying this 4th quadrant would be a billionaire success, right? So you're already starting to see where you've got some holes in the way that you're showing up. Like, you guys don't even need anyone else to tell you. You're doing the audit for yourself and saying, okay, this is where I need to patch in some of the things that I'm doing in my business so that I can show up more powerfully. True or false? True, right? You guys are doing the work right now. And that's kind of, so this is kind of like a little bit of the first step in the strategy. And I go way more in depth in other content that I share, but I wanted to just give you this so you have a little bit of the strategy so you can kind of audit yourself on how you're showing up on social media. What I really think we need to talk about today is the success really starts and ends with mindset. So you can have the best script in the world, you could have the best branding in the world, the prettiest Instagram, but if you don't believe you're going to be successful, is it going to happen? If you are having, emotional breakdowns every other week and wanting to throw your computer against the wall and, sobbing because this just isn't working and where are the people and why hasn't this happened for me yet? How are you showing up on social media? What are you communicating on live video? And just when you look at the bigger picture, because most of you guys are very spiritual, so we can have this conversation, like, what are you energetically communicating to the universe when you are constantly having those negative thoughts, right? What you focus on expands. So you said 100%. Oh, Rosie, I'm so glad you're loving this. So I've got this 3-part CAB method and this doesn't just have to relate to sales. This can really be for anything, right? And it comes down to this: celebrate, align, become. Celebrate, align, become. And the first thing here is, how are you celebrating? Not just in life, but in your business and everything. And I ask that because, back in 2016, I remember I had a chat with a mastermind buddy. It was right after my first 6-figure launch. And I remember her looking at me, we were like on a Zoom call. She's like, okay, I have to ask you, like, I hope this isn't a weird question, but what does it feel like to have that much money? Like, do you feel different? And I just kind of searched for a moment and I was like, honestly, no, it doesn't feel different. And I was surprised. And let me just say, this was more money than I had ever seen in my entire life, right? And it was a culmination of years of like putting in the work, of blood, sweat, and tears, like full on mascara down the face moments. But when and I guess, when we had this, when the launch came in, we were, had all these great successes. I remember like I toasted champagne and I went through some celebratory motions, but I wasn't fully allowing myself to receive. Like, I wasn't allowing that in. Like, on the outside, I was doing all the steps, but I didn't feel it fully. And I was in that moment living the dream board that I had created, but somehow it still felt like it wasn't enough. I was like, oh God, okay, now I got to deliver on all this. And I kept searching, and it was like, how do I get to the next level? How do I get to the next level? And I realized that was the question that I kept asking myself. And the quality of our life is determined by the quality of questions that we ask ourselves. So I was asking myself, how do I get to the next level? How do I get to the next level? And that question created so much anxiety for me because I was never satisfied. I was never satisfied, right? And as Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I share this because, I have faced the consequences of showing up without allowing and receiving. And at least from my experience in those moments, it stopped my flow of energy and my connection to my inner source, to my divine creator. So I share this because I want it to serve as a lesson and a warning. And today I celebrate everything, like literally everything. And it's not something that I do just once I've hit a on paper milestone or big milestone. It's something that I do literally every single day, multiple times a day. And my boyfriend had come to Tony Robbins with me. We've been together for 11 years. And after we got back from the very first UPW last July, he got on board with me. And so we'd just be running around the house like, make your move, celebrate. And we do it together. Like before I get on a live video or before I get on a podcast, I'll be like, hey, babe, I want you to come celebrate with me because this is about to be the best podcast episode I've ever done. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And we jump up and down and we celebrate. And I swear to God, my neighbors, I live in New York City, my neighbors must think I am absolutely batshit crazy because they're like, first of all, this girl's home all day long. She's always home and she's always yelling. She's always screaming. She's winning the lotto like every 10 minutes. Like, what is going on? So I encourage you to celebrate every single freaking win. Every single win. And every single failed experiment that people think is a failure because they apply meaning to a neutral situation. They're like, oh no, my webinar crashed, failure. Those are the moments, like I've had some crazy moments this year where like shit hit the fan. And I remember sharing it with my my mastermind group and they were like, Jen, you're resilient. And I was like, oh my God, that is the greatest compliment, like coming from those people. I was like, thank you. Like I am working really hard to stay in a high vibe. But it was a great test for me to be able to maintain that level of positive energy, even when things seemingly weren't working out, right? So as Oprah says, the more you praise and celebrate your life, the more there is in life to celebrate. And everything that I experience, because I've made a decision that, and this is a belief that I've integrated, that everything I experience brings me to a higher level of service. Everything I experience brings me to a higher level of service. April said, my computer hard drive died and lost a year's worth of work, but a lot of good came out of it. Yes, all of this is happening for you. I think of it this way. You've asked the universe, you've said, hey, universe, I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. I want to make 100K months, whatever it is. And the universe is like, okay, I got you. And so think about it like a GPS. If I'm in New York and I put in my GPS that I want to get to California, there's an infinite number of ways that I can get there. And then I can fly and I can get there in 7 hours, or I can drive, or I can walk. Like I can take the long way. The universe is always like, listen, if you want to take the long way, you sure as heck can. If that's the vibration you want to hold, and if you believe it's going to take you 10 years to hit your first $1 million a year, or we could do it in 6 months, or we could do it in 3 months. Like whatever you believe is possible is what's going to happen. And so you can still take all of the things that are happening in your life and business and start to build in those beliefs. And I always, all of my friends who have had a lot of success, who I admire, I always ask them, what are your beliefs about success? Because I'm always very curious about the way that successful people think and the little nuanced things that they have in their back pocket. And this is one of mine. Everything I experience brings me to a higher level of service. When shit's hitting the fan and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? What is happening to my business right now? I'm like, yeah, this is a story I'm going to tell on stage one day. Got it. I just get excited because I'm like, oh, this is ugly. This is a Hallmark story. This is a good one. I'm in the shit right now. I'm in the trenches. Let me document every little detail so that when I come out the other side, because I know I will, another belief that I hold, a lot of successful people, they're like, oh, it's going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. I mean, it's going to be a great story, right? So that's celebrating no matter what, everything, all the time. The next piece is align. So are you currently aligned with your vision? Are you aligned with your vision? And I ask this because there have been times where I was really out of alignment with my vision. And I remember one of the biggest situations of this, it was 9:30 p.m., New Year's Eve. And instead of being at a party, I was literally sitting, this was back when I lived with my parents, still sitting at my parents' kitchen table, buried in my computer, trying to hustle to get the one last sale, the one last sale that would give me a perfect record in network marketing. And I love network marketing, right? Like I didn't just drink the Kool-Aid, I guzzled the Kool-Aid. And listen, I made sales with ease. I was recognized. I attended the trainings. I sported, my lanyards with all my ribbons. And I created a community, an amazing team, and we had some pretty big wins. But that moment on New Year's Eve, and I was sitting there at my kitchen table, and I was hustling so that I could finally say, like, I did it. And, you know, I just remember sitting there, like, asking myself, like, what am I doing? Why am I not celebrating with the people that I love on this amazing year? And instead, I'm trying to finish up the year and get a sale. And in that moment, I'm just like, oh man, right? And have you ever climbed a mountain only to look down and wonder what friggin' mountain you were on? It's like, hold on, how did I get here? How did I get here? But you know what? It was that moment that I realized I had lost sight of my initial vision to build my own digital course business. And I also had really grown to resent taking pictures of every single thing that I ate. I was like, I have to post another freaking recipe. I am going to take some forks and just, like, I don't even know. It was just not, it was fun. It kept me accountable, but it wasn't my passion. So in that new year, I ended up stepping forward as a business coach and completely started over from scratch. I mean, we're talking new brand, new social media handles, new website, new content, new message, new avatar, new everything. And like, I get it. Like the day that I was like, hey team, I'm out, like I thought I was going to puke. But you know what? I was so aligned with my real vision, what I stepped into, that my business literally exploded. So even if it feels icky or scary or like, holy shit, what's going to happen if I transition? What's going to happen if I tweak my messaging? What's going to happen if you don't? If you keep pushing towards something that you're not fully in alignment with, it's never going to be as successful as it possibly could be, or as successful as you can be. So you've got to get in alignment. So you got to celebrate and you got to get in alignment. Miranda says, you're literally speaking my life right now. Well, I'm really, really glad. Erin says, yep, if I have to take one more makeup selfie, I will scream. And I hear you, girl. And you know what? There's another thing to that too. Like I joke around about recipes. Listen, if I was in network marketing right now, the way that you guys see me showing up on social media, that's exactly how I would be showing up in network marketing. I wouldn't be leading with the products. I would be leading with the business opportunity, talking about sales and marketing, and talking about all of the mindset things and NLP and all of that. I wouldn't necessarily be leading with that. So I think no matter what business model you're in, if it's network marketing, if it's your own stuff, if it's a franchise, whatever it is, you can make it your own. You don't have to do the cookie cutter thing that everybody else is doing just because it's what's been done for so long in that industry. In fact, if you pivot and do something totally different, I bet you'll see way more success because you'll be in alignment with what content you're putting out, and you're going to be different. You're going to be different than everybody else in your business and in your company selling the same products. Right? So the last piece to this is become. Who are you being? Who are you being when you're showing up on video? Who are you being when you're picking up the phone and getting on a sales call? Who are you being when you are doing anything in your business? And we have to recognize that a belief is when someone thinks that A equals B. A equals B, right? Making money, A, is hard, B. That's just a belief. And there's a lot of proof for it. Because if there's even one person in the world that can prove that statement otherwise, then it's not a fact, it's a belief. And 99% of what you think is real is actually a belief. Does this make sense? 99% of what you think is real is actually a belief. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys are digging this. So let's see. When you walk into a house, right, and you say, "Wow, why is it so dark in here?" You know, you come in from the outside only to realize that you're still wearing your sunglasses indoors. Well, beliefs are those tinted lenses that filter the way in which we see the world, except we don't realize we're wearing them because we're in our own model of the world, we're in our own bubble, and we're probably surrounded by other people who have similar beliefs. And so it just seems like that's the way that it is. That's the way the world works. But it's not the way the world works. It's the way your world works because it's what you believe about the world. And so because it's what you believe, it's the vibration that you hold. And because it's the vibration that you hold, that's what you keep getting more of energetically. Make sense? Lauren said, holy banana stacks, that blew my mind. Amazing. So I want you guys to think about this, right? Like I remember when I first started really getting into personal development and drinking all of the personal development Kool-Aid, I remember my parents were like real confused. Because at the time, I was just like in the early stages. I was elbow deep. And I was determined to uncover and uproot anything that didn't serve me anymore. And they were not prepared to meet like belief slayer Jen. They were not ready, y'all. They didn't know. They didn't know. But the truth was, I was like, okay, guys, like mom, dad, finish the sentence. Money is, like, what do you guys believe about money? Which is a great exercise. I didn't really need their confirmation though, because the money stories that I grew up accepting as facts of life, right? We accept our family's belief of facts of life. They weren't of my own creation. They were just beliefs. And they weren't even my beliefs. They were not even my parents' beliefs. They were probably passed on from generations and generations and generations before. And so when I started to sit down, I remember looking at the list of BS money beliefs that I came up with. And, it was something like building a business is hard work and you have to work hard to make money. And sorry, I don't have slides for these, but, just kind of going off the cuff here. And some of my other money beliefs were like, you can't charge people that much for doing something you love. Somebody commented before about being, a spiritual healer and entrepreneur. And that's a big belief in that industry. Like, how dare you charge for doing something you love? And I remember another belief that was big in my family was like, people with money are greedy and unkind. And we pass these things down, right? Now, some of you might be like, Jen, these beliefs are true. I've met people and I've seen the proof that these things are true. But perhaps they only seemed true for you because that's what you believed up until now. But now they're just beliefs, right? So in order to become that next level, 6-figure, top coach, keynote speaker, Instagram influencer, New York Times bestseller, top podcast, like top 10 ranking podcast version of you, that version of you, you've got to be willing to examine what you believe and change those filters by uprooting these old beliefs and rewiring new beliefs that support your new desires. You've got to update your programming if you want to achieve a different outcome. You've got to update your programming if you want to achieve a different outcome. Because the programming and the beliefs that you have right now, if you don't have the result that you want right now in your business, it's because you have a belief that's in direct conflict with your desire. So maybe even it could be a belief, it could be a value that you have. Like if you value time with family and you believe that making money takes time and takes time away from family, and you want to make $1 million this year in your business and you think, it takes time away to make money, are you in alignment with that goal? No, because you're programming what you believe about money and family are in direct conflict with setting that goal. And when you're unconscious, which has those beliefs and values behind the scenes and identity behind the scenes, and your conscious mind saying, I want $1 million business, when your unconscious and conscious mind are out of rapport, that's when you have conflict. They're not in rapport. I love it. Yes, and it really becomes becoming aware of these things. And that's why it's good to have a coach and somebody that can call you out and be that objective eye, because it can be challenging for us to do it for ourselves. We certainly can coach ourselves. But if we have blind spots, it's helpful for somebody else to see those blind spots for us, right? And like the crazy thing is like, we sometimes don't even know, since I'm just talking right now, I'm just going to do this. So like, it's crazy because sometimes we don't even like realize why we do the things we do. We just accept it and go, well, that's just the way it is. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this like ham story, but it goes a little something like this. A little girl says, Mom, why are you cutting the ends off the ham before you put it in the oven? And the mom's like, well, I don't know. That's just what grandma always did. Oh, this is a very inquisitive little girl in this story. She's like, well, but why? She's like, okay, we'll ask grandma. We'll find out. Why do we cut the ends off the ham? So we go to grandma. Grandma, why do you cut off the ends? Grandma says, I don't know. That's just what my mother always did. All right, little girl still wants to know. Hey, great grandma, Why do you cut the ends off the ham before you cook it? You know, what's the secret? Does it lock in flavor? Does it do this? Does it do that? Great grandma says, my oven was too small. So for generations beyond, people are still holding on and showing up in a specific way, acting in certain behaviors, but they don't even know why they're doing it because no one ever told them. They just accepted that that was the way it was. Too familiar, yes. Rosie says, oh my God, too familiar. It's funny, but when we talk about that, it's like, oh, yeah, that's how all of the things you believed became your beliefs, right? So now it just becomes, are you going to choose, keep the ones that serve you and let go of the ones that are no longer working for you in this next level version of your life? So I'll just quickly give you this. My sales mindset, kind of jumping back to sales and kind of putting a nice little button on this. My sales mindset is this. Before I get on a call with somebody, I'm already their coach. Like, I'm not trying to convince them of anything. I'm just literally there to hold space for them. And the goal of the call is not to convince them to join, because I don't care about that. The goal of the call is to see if they're a good fit for the program and if I'm a good fit for them. So it's not just like, do you want to work with me? No, it has to go both ways. I'm like, well, I'm not sure you're a good fit yet either. So the goal of this is for us to like audit each other. And I want you to audit me as well and see if like we really are aligned, because there's no point in working together if we're not. And that, because I have all of these things in place before I get on the call with someone, they like, I want to almost say 10 out of 10 times are the right fit, because I say I close 100% of the people who are the right fit, but I won't get on the phone with somebody because I have them fill out a form and I know pretty much right away if they're not the right fit, or I refer them out to somebody. Another belief that I hold is I attract amazing people. My success is inevitable. Money flows to me easily and effortlessly. And this person that I'm on the phone with is ready to receive support. That's why they're here. So at the end of the call, they may have some resistance or fear coming up, but they would not be on the phone with me. They would not have filled out the form. They would not have reached out. They would not have been following me if they had everything figured out right now. They are reaching out to me, to you, to everybody on this call. Your people are reaching out to you for help because they need a problem solved. And it is up to you to help them connect the dots to see how you can solve their problem. Usually when sales calls go awry, it's because the coach ends up getting really obsessed with like, well, this is what I teach and blah, blah, blah. And they get way into the details and then it confuses the person and they're like unclear if it's actually going to help them or not. So hold that space and ask questions and listen. So I'm curious for you guys, ask yourself, what are your beliefs right now? Money is ... Sales is ... Getting visible is. So some of you might consciously be like, well, I want to believe that money is abundant. Good, write that down. And I also want you to just observe, don't reinforce, but just observe if anything else comes up. Like maybe there is like money is hard to come by and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? Guess I need to still do some work on releasing that. But it starts with knowing that you have it, right? So what are your beliefs about money? And this is a great journaling exercise for you guys to do. And I'll just quickly talk about this, but this is the model of be, do, have. So most people, right? Most people, when they are approaching life, and when you're telling people you're an entrepreneur, whatever, you're starting business, they're like, oh, you know, they're operating from have, do, be. When I have the money, then I will invest in the program, and then I will become the 7-figure coach. So they're in the reverse. They're going have, do, be. But the people who are the most successful people in the world operate from be, do, have. They start by being the amazing leader, by being the 6-figure coach, by being the New York Times bestselling author. And then once they already know they're there in their mind, because the unconscious mind does not know the difference between real and imagined. So as soon as you're there in your mind, then you show up and you do the thing. And the doing is way different when you're already there in your mind. For those of you in network marketing, if you're sitting down every day and you're like, well, I'm just a new coach or I'm just a new distributor, versus maybe having that on paper, but saying, I am the top person in my company. If you come into if you open your computer every day with that state of being, how differently do you show up in your work? The doing is different when you start with being. So it's be, do, have. And then having just becomes natural because the universe is like, all right, you're already there. Here you go. Boom, done. So it's not about what you do. It's not about necessarily having the strategy or how hard you're working or how many hours you're putting in. It's not about what you do. It's about who you are being when you are doing and then when you are having. So that comes back to celebrating. So once you have it, being like, thanks, universe, I'm going to celebrate my face off for every single moment. Does this make sense? Give me a heart right now if this makes sense. And you're like, yep, that's maybe you haven't been showing up in this model. And I remember I even caught myself once showing up in do. I will do the thing, like I will have my 50K month, then I will buy the first class ticket. So I was going to do, be, have, right? And that model doesn't work either. We got to be first. Adam said, breakthrough. Yes. So I know we covered a lot and I went really fast. So I just want to know for you guys, hopefully you can always come back and watch this again. So on a scale from 1 to 10, now, how do you feel about sales? And realize I didn't give you a script. I didn't necessarily give you too much strategy, but now has your number gone up? Yes or no? April's like 10, I'm ready to do this. Adam says 23, right? Because once you realize that anything is possible and everything's energy, it's like, do you need the strategy or do you just trust that you're going to say the right things, that the right people are going to find you and enroll without having to have a whole long conversation, right? Amazing. I love seeing these numbers go up. So that is what I have for you guys today.
So can I just share something with you, Jen?
Yeah.
When you show up, like you show the fuck up. I mean, like this whole time I'm like watching this, I'm like, oh my God, like it's such a fucking honor. And I so appreciate it because you provided so much fucking value in that training for all of our girls. I know, seriously, the comments, the thoughts, it's been blowing up since you started talking. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. I have questions that I wrote down as I watched the training happen to just be aware of like what some of the girls were asking. And so I wanted to take a couple of minutes to cover some of those things that people were dropping questions on from the beginning of the training. So Claudia had a question in the beginning. She said, is it better to reach out directly to people or does that not work anymore?
You can absolutely reach out directly to people. I think if you look at a lot of the top people, there's magic happening. There's a lot of sales happening in the DMs. It's the cold. I'm not a huge fan of cold messaging. So when I say cold messaging, I don't mean never send direct messages. I'm talking about when I follow someone on Instagram and I get an instant cold message pitching me something when I don't know them. I've never talked to them. They've never added any value to my life. We don't have a relationship. That's like walking up. That's like being in a bar and having a guy come up to you and be like, hey babe, want to come home? It's like, whoa, too fast, too fast, right? Because you're just like, I just wanted to get to know you. I like thought you were cool and wanted to follow you. I just wanted to like buy you a drink and now you're trying to close the deal. So it's like, if you wouldn't do that in real life, don't do it on social media. You wouldn't go to somebody's party and like, especially for like a lot of network marketing companies, I hate to say this, but it's like, that's unfortunately what is taught a lot. And like a lot of companies will reach out and be like, hey, I liked your feed. Do you want to be a distributor? Do you want to enroll in this program? Can I send you some of this or that? And it's just like, you wouldn't come up to me at somebody's birthday party and be like, hi, I'm Jen. Hi, your name's Lauren. Want to join my challenge group? Yeah. Like, I would never do that. You wouldn't do that either. So I think it's just about having emotional intelligence and realizing that just because you're online and just because you can send messages quickly, it doesn't mean that's the most effective way to have a sales conversation. That said, what I like way better is let people follow you. If you see people on your Instagram stories watching every single week, then reach out to that person and say, hey, Lauren, I saw that you have been watching a lot of my stories. And I just want to say I really appreciate that you've been following me. I've been loving the content that you've put out. I love that recent post that you made about, mental health. I thought that was so powerful. I just really wanted to say I appreciate the love. If you're ever interested, I've got this upcoming group. are you interested? And like, if somebody comments on one of your posts, this is gold, guys, so write this down. Instead of just, if somebody likes one of your posts, you're like, oh, my upline told me to send messages to everybody. You can, and then you're getting like all these people ghosting you, right? Where no one's writing back. I would say, hey, Lauren, I saw you liked my recent post about my challenge group, or it was before and after photo. Are you interested in learning more? Or were you just showing me some love? Because that gives people an out so that they don't have to feel awkward about telling you no, because people feel uncomfortable and they're like, oh, no, it's just showing you some love. It looked really great. And you're like, oh, well, thank you so much for giving me that love and for supporting my page and for, just being part of my tribe. And then the conversation doesn't become awkward. It actually becomes a really powerful conversation of being able to connect and thank that person and give gratitude.
Well, because you're acting like a human. You're not acting like that, like those kiosk people in the mall who are just like, use this hand lotion, try this straightener, right? Like you're showing up in this space of just being like, I'm here, I'm connecting with you. Is this something that you want to go deeper into? Or are we just loving each other's stuff right now? I think that's really cool. It's a beautiful way to word it. So Elias said, as you were talking about showing up and over giving, this energy of like, always providing content and teaching and helping and serving versus making money off of coaching, right? And there's this issue that I think a lot of entrepreneurs face where they feel, especially in network marketing, like they're coaching people and helping people lose weight, get healthy, whatever. And they're not actually making sales with those people because those people aren't buying products from them. So like, where is the boundary on serving and helping people for you in your experience versus, hey, it's time to make an investment now. I'm feeling taken advantage of.
Yeah, kind of going back to what I was saying before. I love this question. I know that the transformation is in the transaction. I know that when people pay, they pay attention. And so I would be doing a disservice if I gave away everything for free, because I know that people need a higher level of support. Like if you could figure out everything just by listening to podcasts, no one would be making money online. So when I'm approaching my content, I used to give a lot more. And I've noticed that I've made this mistake even earlier this year. I did a 5-day challenge and it was about story. And I was like, I want to over deliver and I want to pack it with value. But what happened was I pitched at the end of it, but people didn't get to day 5 because they were still doing the work that I gave them from day 3. So when you give people too much stuff, especially in your free content, you can actually overwhelm them and create paralysis for them where they're like, oh my God, like there's just like too many things that I need to do. And I can't move on to day 4 because this challenge is free challenge because I didn't do the assignment for day 3. And so I was like, oh shit. Like I thought I was doing a service to them by giving them more, but I actually prevented them from getting to the final day and then enrolling in the program, which is what they actually needed.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a good lesson. And, that's why I say relaunch things over and over again with the same process so that you can refine that. Because I wouldn't do it the same way again, but I learned a ton from having it in that way. And I will also say your content, your free content, this is juicy, should do 3 things. It should create demand, overcome objections, and inspire action. So it doesn't need to teach them everything. You don't need to get deep into the how, because that's where people get overwhelmed. So I'll say that again. It should create demand, overcome objections, and inspire action. So when you're creating your content, think about that.
Your free
content. Yeah. Your free content, the purpose of it is to drive people to your paid programs, because that's where you're doing the real work. That's where the transformation is happening. Yeah. So it's like, how do I get a new person who's never met me before to saying, yes, I'm in and buying the program? Well, you've got to fill that space and you've got to make sure you hit those 3 things with your free content.
It's such a powerful point, because I think like even for us, when I look at like 12 Days of Bizmas and what we've created here, there's so much fucking content. I have zero intention of providing an upsell, right? Because it's like, you're going to go through 12 fucking hours of training. How many of you are going to be like, I need more, let me buy this other thing? Like, that's not going to happen, right? And so
the power though is after 12 Days of Bizmas, what people do need is accountability to take action on everything that they've learned, instead of just like having a notebook full of notes and doing nothing with it. So like, that's where the coaching piece comes in, where it's like, people do need that next step,
Right. And I think when you're creating your free content, you always have to ask yourself, like, what is the intention of this, right? Is the free content to nurture the audience? Is the free content so that they eventually purchase something? And just being aware that like, knowing what your intention is of that free offer then will dictate how you show up, right? And so that I think alone just creates that boundary and that element of like, you won't feel like you're over giving unless you're not respecting that boundary within yourself.
Totally.
Right? If you're feeling like I have to bend over backwards and give. Yeah,
well,
that was a great
answer. Saying it's like if people are coming from a lack mentality of like, I'm not enough, and so I have to keep hammering at home and giving more so that people will like me.
Yes.
That's kind of like that's now getting into more of like, well, what's underneath your compulsive need to constantly give free content away?
Well, this is how coaches feel too when they're like, I'm in my DM all the time. I feel like my clients are messaging me all the time. But like, you're not creating that boundary within yourself. Like, you're not saying I'm not going to respond, or you're not saying it's the weekend, I'm not checking my messages, right? You have to create that within yourself. And if you're not, like, what the fuck is going on that you're not respecting that thing that you need?
Absolutely. And for those of you guys who maybe are getting a lot of DM messages, like when you're coaching out of the DMs, not only are you not fully serving that person, but you're actually like, I mean, you're devaluing yourself by giving it away for free. And I'm not saying don't have conversations in your DM. Let me clarify. For example, I remember like I had one client who helped people with gut health, and this girl messaged her and she was like, hey, I'm having these like physical symptoms. What do I do? And instead of asking more questions and saying like, well, what have you tried and this and that, and beginning a sales conversation, she was like, have you ever tried cutting out dairy? And the girl was like, no. Yeah, the girl was like, no, I actually haven't. I guess I'll go do that. Bye. And that was the end of their conversation. And she lost that sale, but she didn't just lose the sale, because what's really going to happen? What are the chances that that girl is going to fully cut out dairy? Like, maybe she will, maybe she won't. If she does cut out dairy, it may work or not. And if she doesn't fully, like, she might like be like, oh, I'll do it for like a couple of days here and there, and then be like, well, it didn't really work. Well, now the girl that she reached out to, this coach, she's like, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about because I tried it and it didn't work. So now she not only lost the sale, but she lost being able to help that person. She lost the customer for life. She lost all the potential referrals that could happen because she did not ask the questions and she just gave a quick answer because she felt like, I have to. Like, I know the answer. I have to just give it to her. No, you don't. You need to help the person. What is serving at the highest level? What does that person actually need? Why are they asking that question? They can go and Google what to do if they have gut problems. There's a million Pinterest pins out there that tell you to cut out dairy. Like, they didn't need you to tell them that. So what are they really asking for when they're coming to you? Like, just being conscious of that.
Yeah, I love that. So Wendy asked to, and I know you did cover this, but I feel like it's something we need to circle back to. She said, how do you feel, Jen? She wants to know how you feel. How do you feel about coaches who put pressure on people to sign up now to get a discount?
Ooh. So I think urgency in sales is important. If they can enroll at any point in time, what happens? And this even goes back to what I said before about me being like, Lauren, do you want to join my program? Lauren says, I don't know. I'm like, all right, well, let me know. Like, let me know. Whenever you want to sign up, doors always open. That's not holding power and space for that person, right? So I like the idea of creating urgency. You need urgency in sales. All of my offers, or well, not all of them, but most of my offers, especially my higher ticket ones, it's like you're either in or you're out. And that's actually for me a pre-qualifier, because I want people that are going to make quick decisions and take action. So if somebody is sitting on the fence and flipping and flopping, they're not ready. They're not ready to join my program because I'm not, at least for me as a coach, like, I'm not a handholder. I don't babysit. It's like you're in or you're out. We're taking action. We're going deep. Like, you've got to be willing to be a freaking warrior and dive head first. Like, if you're not already in that mindset, like, that's already a sign to me that you're probably not a right fit for what I do. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but you asked specifically what Jen thinks. So that's why I'm giving you my take. So yeah, I mean, and I do think that, creating urgency, you can give a discount for your program. I know a lot of people, will say like, you get $100 off before you, if you enroll early. I personally am not a fan of discounts at all. Like, in that context, I would prefer doing, giving an additional bonus, like a fast acting bonus, something that is like, and think about this is really like higher level stuff, but like, think about the biggest objections that people have around joining your program. And I would create a bonus that has to do with that.
Yeah. And so like, just as an example, when we talk about objections, why don't people join a health program? Well, maybe they feel like they don't have the time, right? So then you design a little bonus training that says how to make time and schedule your workouts, right? Like
that's simple, like 10-minute recipes, 10-minute recipes. Yeah. Great. Now you can do it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. April wanted to ask, what do you do if you've only had a couple of clients at $2,000 a month, but now you feel like you're worth 20? What do you do to like raise your prices? What do you do to shift into a next level? What are your tips?
That is financially a big gap for people. But I think if you feel aligned with 20K, then I say go for it, right? I mean, it really depends on your audience and where they're at. So there may be some education that you need to do. And I'm only thinking for like, if I saw a coach that I had hired for 2,000, all of a sudden say, now I'm 20,000, I think it would really depend on the individual. But yeah, I think you need to educate your audience on how you've increased your value and how that's going to be powerful for them so that they understand that investment. And chances are the people who invested at 2,000 are not going to be the same people who invested 20.
Right. And this is the same thing to be aware of too. When you start to create discounts in your offers, you attract a very specific type of person with a discount than you do if you say, no, this is my price. This is what I'm valued at. As you raise your price and as you set higher standards, the quality of the individual who comes to work with you changes. She just evolves. So,
absolutely. And it could be like, and you could have different offers for different,
yes,
like similar avatar, but at a different level.
Right.
So like I know, Lauren, you have like a lot of different levels to your offers. So you have like a beautiful stack for people where they could just go from like this step to this step to this step to this step. And like the path is created for them. So, I mean, like that's one way to build it out. Or you could just have one high ticket offer and say, listen, I only want to work with people at the 20K level, or I only want to run a $33 a month membership and just work with newbies and scale that and really work on quantity and numbers and get a lot of traffic versus working with a small quality group who are at a higher level.
And there's nothing wrong with either way, right? Like
you can have both, you could have one, you could have the other. Like there's literally no right or wrong way. You've got options. Yeah.
Yeah. Like our VIP, that membership is like $33 a month, and that's a lower level. And then we have our one-on-one coaching that's like bigger, right? So you can show up to do both. It's just about like where you're putting your time and investing your energy. Claudia also asked, this is the final question I have listed here. Claudia says, how do you evaluate the value of your program based on what you deliver? And I know you said this is about being aligned with your rate, right? When people say, what do I charge? You go, I don't fucking know. What do you want, right? Like what feels good to you? So what are some things that we can ask, or how can we walk our students through this exercise where they can evaluate what should they be charging for a program? And what's the difference between $1,000 offer versus a $5,000 offer?
Sure. I think for when I'm talking to people, like we can always adjust the offer, right? And add to it or take away from it or whatever we need to do. But when people are like, well, this is what I have, what should I charge? I'm like, well, what do you think you should charge? If you were to know, you were to just channel that, what would it be? And they're like, I don't know, $300. I'm like, okay. But I can tell by the, sensory acuity in their face that they're like, not really sure about that. I'm like, what about 500? And then I just watch, like, what about 1,000? What about 10,000? So then I, as a coach, am watching them and kind of get, what is their, like, I feel really safe here? And what is their, holy shit, I want to vomit all over the place number? Yeah. What feels impossible to them? And then we kind of like wiggle our way down and find something that actually does feel aligned. So it's like if $10,000 for your one-on-one coaching, you're like, oh my God, I could never charge that. Okay, clearly you might be worth it and a lot more. If you're not aligned and you feel like it's too much, people will pick up on that in a second. You're not hiding that at all. So yeah, I kind of like get people get their high number, get their like holy shit number, like one day, get their like, I feel really safe here. And I'm like, oh yeah, so we wiggle it the center.
I love that you say that. Like I teach something that's like the linear test, which is the same exact thing where it's like write down the number, the big one that you would like flip out over the small one. And then sometimes if you don't have a coach to do this with, like looking in the mirror and just saying your number and seeing how you respond to that and seeing what comes up for you is a great way to go about that as well. Yeah. Jen, you were fucking awesome. This was an amazing training. This was so juicy and so informative. Guys, go back, take notes. You captivated everybody on the training. They've been here the whole fucking time. It's been awesome. Where can people go check you out, learn more, find you, send you love, all those things?
So I am everywhere, like on every social media platform. I'm at Hey Jen Casey. I hang out a lot on Instagram. I have my Facebook group. So you can go to heyjencasey.com/group. I've also got my podcast, the Inner Boss Podcast. So heyjencasey.com/podcast. Pretty much you can just go to my website, Hey Jen Casey, and find like the links to all the things. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Thank you so much. This is so fun.
Thanks so much for being here. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow for day number 9 of 12 Days of Bizmas.
Yay.
Bye, Jen.
Bye.